Um, One of those police officers is still um, in surgery right now, and unfortunately, one of them has passed. And so I want to ask the city of Houston to continue to lift up, number one, both families, but especially lift up the family of the police officer that has died um, this morning, and lift up his wife and his his parents and all their relatives and friends, and then at the same time lift up the entire HPD family, the Houston Police Department, because it is a family. And now it's that extended family. So lift them up. This is a sad morning when you lose one, and at the same time the other one is still getting the treatment from an outstanding hospital right here. And I certainly want to thank the medical staff, the entire medical staff, for just their professionalism and what they have been doing and what they will continue to do. Now let me stop and bring up Chief Acevedo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for always being here, and thanks for your leadership, your support, most importantly, your prayers. We're a community of faith, and you're a man of faith, and I think it really lifts us up. We need our faith now more than ever. I want to give everyone an update of what occurred this morning in terms of a quick summary. Then I will open up the questions when we're done, but just realize that this is going to be a very long investigation. Little around 2 a.m., a little before 2 a.m., the Houston Police Department received a call of bodies in the bayou, up there in the Greenspoint Bayou. Fox 75 Fox, one of our aircraft with the pilot and the tactical flight officer, responded to the area. They began a search of the bayou for the reported bodies in the bayou. Within a few minutes of their arrival, a Houston Forensic Science Center CSU crime scene unit that was processing a homicide scene saw Fox go down in auto rotation into an apartment complex in the 10,700 block of Imperial Valley. They put it out to the police department. We immediately began searching, and at about 2:04 a.m., witnesses in the apartment complex where the aircraft went down flagged down units, and we were able to immediately find the wreckage with the two occupants trapped in the wreckage, which was very mangled wreckage. HFD responded immediately with quite a few assets, and they spent probably the next hour trying to extricate our two officers. I want to just tell HFD that they did a phenomenal job. There was a lot of fuel that was spilled on the scene, and as you can imagine, that fuel is very flammable, and when you're using instruments to try to save our officers, I think it was very heroic, their efforts. They put their lives on the line, and as far as I'm concerned, they earned the Medal of Valor tonight when they were in that environment, desperately cutting our officers out. Life Flight responded, and somewhere around 3 a.m., shortly thereafter, our first officer was life flighted here to Herman Memorial, where sadly, despite the valiant efforts of everyone involved, from HFD to Life Flight and to the best trauma docs in the nation, on planet Earth, he succumbed to his injuries. That was a tactical flight officer. I'm not going to say much about him other than I can say that the family's here. His wife is here. He's survived by a wife and two young children. His parents are here. His in-laws are here. And we actually picked them up. We brought them here because we are a family, Mayor. And no one should, so we're not going to say much more about them because we want to make sure that the entire family is notified properly and they don't find out from the media that they've lost a loved one. Our pilot was extricated next, was taken out safely from the aircraft. He is currently in surgery. He's very banged up, some significant injuries, but we're hopeful that he'll survive. But having said that, this is very traumatic, a lot of trauma, and you know that when you have trauma, it can turn very quickly. So we're asking for the community's prayers for everyone involved, from the involved families, our extended air operations unit that we're so proud of, that do a phenomenal job day in and day out. It's pretty ironic that just yesterday morning we graduated a class and we had Fox fly out because we had, you know, COVID, so we couldn't do your traditional graduation, so we wanted to do something special. And Fox flew out, and somebody told me that a few hours later we'd have an aircraft down and we'd lose a really good man. I would have said no way. The NTSB and the FAA will be conducting an investigation. The police department will actually approach this from our investigative standpoint as a homicide investigation because we've lost one of our own, and we know that we don't leave no stone unturned as part of our investigation into the causative factor in this crash. So we will look at it from a criminal standpoint, again, to make sure that there was no criminal activity that led to this tragic incident. And the NTSB will obviously bring all their assets along with the FAA. What will happen next is that we will have a movement for our deceased officer to the medical examiner's office. Our family assistance unit is here, our psych services unit is here, our peer support team is here, HPAU, the Houston Police Officers Union, is here with Ray Hunt and Joe Gamaldi and just the Doug, all of them, they're all here. Our executive assistant chiefs are here. It's just, and there's my fire. Come up, guys. Come on up. They just did a phenomenal job. And Chief, would you, Chief, you were at the scene, Griffin. Can you talk very briefly about the rescue? I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but it was very heroic that your guys, with all that fuel, they put themselves at risk, and they're heroes. So I want you to talk about the extrication piece. Let me just say a couple of other things real quick. There's always a silver lining. You've got to look for a silver lining. And that silver lining is that somehow our aircraft could have landed and crashed into a very heavily populated apartment complex, into buildings where Houstonians were asleep. And by the grace of God and some good piloting, they avoided the building. And actually, when you all see the footage later on, pictures, they actually auto-rotated in between the pool house, the clubhouse. We all know that the pools are closed right now because of COVID, and a palm tree. The other, if that aircraft would have crashed into an occupied building, who knows, it would have been a very ugly scene. And as a result of that silver lining, we didn't have any other loss of life, and we have a pilot that's in there right now fighting for his. So I just want to make sure people realize that that is some silver lining. And when you have incidents like this, you got to find the silver lining, because had they crashed into that apartment building with all those families in there, it would have been a much different scene. And so with that, I'd like Chief Griffith, if you could, Griffin, talk real quickly, briefly about the rescue operation.
Thank you, Mayor. Herbert Griffin, Chief of Operations for Houston Fire Department. I got on location. We did have the helicopter down on its side. Heavy rescue, 11 was there. When I approached the helicopter on its side, we still had one officer still pinned in the helicopter. The men and women of the police department and fire department did an excellent job of extricating him out. Heavy rescue was able to get the member out the chopper, get him loaded up and transported over to the life flight. There were no problems with None of the issues on operational scene on location. They did a wonderful job, the men and women did. Something like this is horrific. Like the chief said, the copter was trapped between the laundry room and an actual tree. So it's a blessing it didn't hit the actual apartment complex.
So thank you, Chief. Now, there, at about 3 a.m., there were some shots fired in the area that people keep bringing that up. HPD officers immediately responded, and we have I believe six individuals that have been taken into custody related to that the shots fired. So if you've heard about that, I was asked earlier at the scene if our aircraft had been shot at or shot down, and my response was we don't have any indication of that. But we know that law enforcement aircraft get shot at on a regular basis, not just with live fire, but they also get shot at with targeted with lasers. And so we will also make that part of our investigation just to leave no stone unturned. With that, again, we just thank the mayor, to our team from air operations, everyone that responded, thank you. And we'll open it up to questions for myself or the mayor. You're going to have to speak up.
I'm sorry, sir. Is it the pilot or the tactical flight officer who succumbed to
The tactical flight officer succumbed to his injuries.
Can you tell us the years of service?
I'm not going to talk about that because people can connect dots, and family may be watching right now that doesn't know. So that's why I'm not going to talk about anything else. I don't want any member of that family to find out. And I would ask the media, if you get a tip, have some decency. That doesn't make you a good reporter. It makes you a bad human being if you put it out over the air before we do, because we don't put it out until we know the family knows. And we've had that happen once before with Steve Perez, and that was not pretty. So I would just ask you, we don't sell our souls just to get a tip. We will put it out as soon as we know that the family is ready. I think we owe that to the family.
Is there something similar to a dash cam on that helicopter?
There'll be all kinds of instruments on there. We will have FLIR that was probably running, which is the forward-looking infrared device that actually is used to look for heat signatures. So we will have all kinds of stuff to look at, and the NTSB will as well.
You indicated in your earlier press conference that you said it was speculation, but you mentioned something possibly with the tail rotor of that box unit. Can you tell us more about that?
No, we don't know. We have no idea what the cause was. We have no idea. It will take a comprehensive investigation, multidisciplinary investigation, multi-jurisdictional investigation, both federal and local with us at HPD to determine the cause.
Just to clarify, is there anything for a body in the bayou?
The call that they responded to was bodies floating in the bayou, bodies in the bayou. And that's what they were working on when they went down, and they were located around 2:04, a little after 2 a.m. No flames, which was a blessing. Again, that pilot did a hell of a job not trying to avoid that big apartment building there. That's a silver lining here. Anything else? Thank you all. And then if there's any Spanish, let me know. I'll do that on the side. Any Spanish? Okay, thank you very much.